Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Van Alstyne, and today I am talking with the academic YouTubers. I'm so excited for this live conversation because being on YouTube is something a lot of people think about, a lot of people consider, and then they decide it's too much work or it makes them too anxious to be on camera, so they just don't do it. I want to talk with these amazing women about how they started the academic YouTubers community on Twitter and what they're doing for their own channels. So welcome, Susan, Franzi, Nichole, and Erika. I'm so excited to have you all here. And would you start us off by just introducing yourselves? Let's start with Susan.
Sure. So, hi, thank you so much for having us today. So my name is Susan Heavey. I'm a cancer researcher and I'm a lecturer as well in translational medicine here in London. So I'm based at UCL. And for fun, outside of the research and the teaching, I like to do a bit of academic YouTube with a colleague who is called Hayley Pye. We have a channel called Cancer Research Demystified that I think we've linked in the description here.
That is awesome. All right. Franzi, would you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Franzi. I'm based in Berlin. So I'm a paleontologist at the Natural History Museum here in Berlin, but I'm actually also doing science communication there with my own program once a month, which is a huge passion I always had. I love doing science communication with people at the museum, and it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully soon I'll be doing that in Canada. So far, it's been a bit tricky moving across borders, but that is something that I'm really excited about. And my channel is, of course, also linked below. I do lots of vlogs behind the scenes of my events. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that, Franzi. Nichole, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm now starting my 6th year of my PhD program in cell biology, but I'm also studying, like Susan, cancer, specifically pediatric brain tumors. And so I'm doing that. Hopefully we'll be finishing up this fall. Very excited. Should hopefully make a lot more time for YouTube because I do have a academic YouTube channel, very SciComm focused. So mostly kind of breaking down different topics in biology or like stories that I've always found really interesting and kind of breaking them down for more of a general audience. And that's Bio Corner. And I think, yeah, we have that linked below. I haven't been able to do much with it this year since I've been trying to finish up my dissertation. But I really hope to, after graduation, to kind of get back at it and release a few videos every now and again when I have some time.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing that, Nichole. Erika, oh, I'm glad you're back. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Erika Romero, and I actually just finished my PhD this past semester. So it took me 7 years, Nichole, but I finished it up. And mine is in English, specifically children's and young adult literature. And so my research focuses on the literature, but also new media adaptations. So television, movies, fan fiction, TV shows, etc. And then my channel, specifically Ever Educating, is about teaching tips and advice for new college instructors.
Oh, very cool. So you all do kind of different things with your channels. It sounds like you're doing different things in your research. So how did you all find each other? How did you come together?
Twitter, I guess. I was trying to think back. I don't remember exactly. Like
it was a Follow Friday, right?
Yeah, I think we were all chit-chatting and saying, wouldn't it be great if there was a hashtag for people who do academic stuff on YouTube? One thing led to another. It ended up becoming an account. And I mean, the four of us look after it, but there's like dozens and dozens of other accounts that kind of help out or interact in different ways as well. Is that a fair summary, guys? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was that. And then, yeah, I can't remember now if it was Open Academics or Brianna Williams. I think it was Brianna Williams. Like she had started a thread because she has her own YouTube channel that's like been doing amazing. And she was kind of like, oh, like let's start a thread with all like the academic YouTuber pages and stuff. And then a few of us were just like, wait, this should just be like a thing to kind of help promote these channels like more consistently.
Yeah, I think that's so great because before there probably wasn't anything where people were coming together and talking about this in a general way, definitely within science communication specifically, maybe within teaching specifically, but not for academics and not for, I think, the variety of channels that you have. So my next question is, when did you first start thinking about having a YouTube channel? How long ago was that?
So for me, I was looking at my stats to remember this. So I started a blog 5 years ago, which was teaching tips. And so 2 years in, I thought, maybe video will be a better way of getting more audience members, being on YouTube versus on my personal website. So I started creating videos in April of 2019. That's when my channel officially started.
Nice.
How long from when you created your first video to actually uploaded it, Erika?
I mean, I'm that person who's decisive. So I definitely uploaded the first video I created onto my channel probably within a week's time. So yeah.
Good for you. I think for us, it was about a year and a half.
That's a lot. That's a big difference, Susan.
Yeah. I think we talked ourselves out of it so many times. And myself and Haley started talking about a YouTube channel in early 2016. And I don't think we got a video out there until 2017. And we had the channel names and the Twitter handles and everything all locked down and ready to go. We had the logo, but we just kept not hitting upload. We had such fear. What about the other two?
I've always been filming like trips and stuff. Like I love to film wherever I go. So I had a lot of just kind of like home videos. And when I was younger, I actually used like a camcorder to film it, I'm that old, doing trips and stuff. And I just got a little bit into editing and making them fun. And I love watching my own videos all the time. And I just sit there in front of my smart TV. I'm like, oh, so fun. And
I love that so much. It's almost like because you had this passion for videoing things when you were traveling, that you developed, this kind of skill of editing and uploading these videos to YouTube to share them. And that came out of the passion for sharing your travels. So it's really interesting.
And I think actually uploading started during the very first lockdown. I think in March or something, I was like, wouldn't it be fun to just like start something new? Everybody was kind of making bread or doing puzzles. And I was like, I should have a channel because I've been consuming videos on YouTube since I can remember. Like I'm on YouTube a lot. So I thought, hey, I could just try it. And it's been super fun so far, yeah.
Nice. What about you, Nichole? How long have you been thinking about YouTube? And then how long was it until you uploaded your first video?
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of a mix of everyone here, actually. So I think I was kind of first started thinking about doing it, I want to say in like fall of 2018. Like I just finished up doing a science communication like fellowship training. So where I actually kind of developed this little tabletop activity to explain gene editing to elementary school parents and their kids, or their parents, sorry. I think it was mostly like K through 4th grade, maybe was roughly at that event. And like my mom and boyfriend, now fiance, were kind of like watching the video back. I think my mom had like filmed me doing it or something. And they're just like, you should just do this more regularly. I'm like, but with what time? Like I can't go to schools all the time because like after work, they're like, that's why there's YouTube. But it took until the pandemic actually setting in. I was like, well, I can't, because I was like being pretty consistent with doing outreach events every few months. And then you can't do outreach and go to schools when there's a pandemic. So that's what kind of finally pushed me into actually doing it. That's like, I need to do my outreach somehow, and this is how I'll do it.
Oh, that's fascinating. You felt like you had to continue that outreach. And so you found a medium in which you could do that and still actually reach people. Very cool. Well, thank you all for sharing that about when you first started thinking about your YouTube. I think for me, when I started the academic designer, I was like very against doing video. I'm overweight and I just like feel like my neck is short, and I had all of these like really body-based feelings about starting my YouTube channel. And so I didn't for like 2 years. I was like, I'm not going to do video at all if I can help it. And then I don't remember why, but I wanted to start recording the featured interviews that I was doing on video to help it be more engaging for the people who were watching it back. So you couldn't just, read it back or listen to it back. You could actually watch the people talking. I thought that would be good for the people who I was inviting, and it would probably be good for my confidence too. And so I started filming videos about a year and a half ago now for those featured interviews. And I got so comfortable doing it live that I did a couple shorter videos. Now I do videos for like my courses. And I just didn't think that I would like YouTube at all. And I do. So I want to talk about your channels. I want to hear about what each of your channels is about. So Erika, let's start with you again.
Yeah, so again, it's called Ever Educating. I don't use my actual name. And basically, in the beginning, I had teaching advice and then some grad school advice. But since then, it's really shifted into like just teaching tips, ideas for activities to do in the classroom, a lot of ed tech tutorials recently about online teaching, high flex teaching. So basically, if you're new to teaching college courses or even like higher level high school, then that's what my channel was about, is just sharing my experiences. And then I love curating activity ideas to try out with my students. And so I just post videos with those ideas as well. So even this month, I had like themed weeks, and then each Friday's video is, hey, here are 3 activities you can assign to your students.
That's so cool. So the audience for your channel is really teachers, university teachers, and maybe like high school teachers, you said?
Yeah, because I feel like new college instructors tend to be grad students, at least in my experience. Sure. My first year as a PhD student was my first year teaching. Mm-hmm. And so I feel you don't get that much training in how to teach when we're grad students. And so I thought I can kind of fill that gap with my blog. And then again, I started creating videos to make it a bit more engaging, as you mentioned.
That's great. I think one of the things I definitely was missing in my like teacher training was the kind of tips and tricks that I've seen some of your videos be about. Like I really liked your, I think it was a Tuesday tip about exit cards where students would write down, what they got or what they were confused about from a class. And I've heard that tip from other teachers before, but it was never taught to me. It was not something that became a part of my lessons. And because of that, I think I missed out on clearing up, some confusion. And that's such an easy tip to follow. I loved your channel, so I'm excited that you came on the show and you're talking about it. Now, Susan, you share tips that's for a different audience, right? You're sharing for the public, is that correct?
Yeah, so actually, before I talk about my channel, let me just compliment Ever Educating, because I use it in my own teaching as well, as Erika knows, because I'm always plugging her. It's really useful. I've shared it with the rest of the faculty locally, particularly during the pandemic. We're all looking for slightly different ways to teach. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, you can always learn something new, and her channel is a great place to do that. So good.
Much appreciated.
But yeah, so for our own channel, it's more for cancer patients themselves and their families and their loved ones. Unfortunately, about 1 in 2 people will get cancer in their lifetime. So if I say cancer patients and their loved ones, that means literally everyone. So it kind of covers all of us. But basically, we're both scientists. We're not clinicians, but in our work as scientists, we've both gotten to meet patients and gotten to consent them to clinical trials. And so we've both met like hundreds of patients and had these kind of awkward conversations with them about research and kind of trying to cram in all of what cancer research is into a 20-minute conversation. And it's quite challenging. And a lot of them have really brilliant questions about the science of what we're actually doing. They genuinely really want to know, and even if they have no background in science themselves, they have great questions about what we're doing, or they'll have like some news story they saw recently about some miracle cure, and they'll be like, oh, I've got a real scientist in front of me, is this true? Will this new essential oil cure my cancer, or whatever it is? And so we get into these brilliant conversations with them one-on-one, but that's just kind of opened our eyes to, well, how many more conversations are there out there? Maybe we should be kind of filming these and discussing these topics so that a wider range of cancer patients can actually access them, and so that they can literally just see the lab. So like a lot of our videos are just kind of tours of the lab and what it looks like. Because cancer patients they don't necessarily always know, they're kind of either picturing like some old dusty, beautiful mahogany lab with like specimen jars around the outside, or else it's like CSI, holograms and glass. And obviously, I guess most of you know it's somewhere in between, and it's really the ugliest version of both. But it's really nice to just kind of be honest and show people, like, look, this is where we actually do our work. This is where the discoveries happen, and this is where the discoveries very often don't happen. And it's a hard, long process, and what's involved, and kind of just show it kind of warts and all for people. And yeah, it's been really fulfilling. We mostly do get cancer patients watching them, but sometimes students as well, which has been nice. So we're kind of trying to adapt for that now, because I guess the more and more I lecture to big modules, the more the students are actually starting to ask me about the channel. So we might do like a little cancer bio 101 or something like that for the channel moving forward.
I think that's great, because it's almost like your audience is inherently curious. They want to know because it affects themselves and the people that they love. And so they're happy to listen to you and happy to learn more by seeing your lab and what the research actually looks like. So that's really cool. Nichole, you're also in science communication in terms of your channel. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so yeah, it's like SciComm channel. And so a lot of it kind of came from the fact that, so on top of just really liking outreach and really teaching being the big thing that I like, that I've kind of gotten out of my PhD, and realizing that that's actually what I want to focus on more, a little bit less of the research when I finish up, is so I'm also the first person in my family to pursue a degree in science. So once I kind of started getting into like upper level classes, you know, my family would just be asking me questions about different things, or I tell them like just cool science stories I learned about in my classes, and they thought it was all really interesting. So that's also part of it for me too. So it's like I kind of have that experience of explaining some of this stuff to my family, like breaking it down in various different ways for all the different education levels in my family and just science knowledge. And so that's where some of the practice came in. And again, what kind of drove me wanting to do is, it's like, you know, whether it's for practical reasons. So I have like a couple of videos on COVID. So like, hey, just like, these are important things. These are things you should know. And then also the fun one. So I have a little calico cat, and the genetics behind calicos is just so interesting and really cool. So I have a video on that. So really liking to present both sides of science, like the practical, like, hey, these are important things you should know. And hey, this is just a cool, fun thing about science, and I want to share with people.
Right. Very cool. I watched your mRNA video and I felt like it was so engaging. And I hear it mentioned all the time because my mother-in-law is a nurse. And so she talks about the mRNA, vaccines. And I feel like I just didn't really know what they were. And then I watched your video and I was like, oh, I understand what the function of this is and why CNN got their tweet wrong. So that I thought that was super engaging. Now, Franzi, you're a researcher in a museum, you said? A paleontologist.
Yeah, I'm a paleontologist. I don't make many videos about paleontology. I had some requested because people sometimes, like especially people with kids, reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter and are like, hey, so my daughter has all these questions and she's never seen a woman paleontologist. I get questions. And so I have a few videos where I explain certain things I do, or answer questions that these kids had. That's kind of fun. I do a lot of behind the scenes video like vlog style videos, because I also do things like Soapbox Science, where we promote the science that women do in Berlin. I mean, it happens all over the world, but for example, ours just happened, I think 2 weeks ago now. So it's a yearly event. I also do Pint of Science, and have my own outreach program at the museum. And I really enjoy that, but I also like to film behind the scenes of how to make these events happen, how you have these meetings, maybe to discuss sponsors, what's important, what you need to, have an event outside. Like Soapbox Science actually happens in the streets and public squares, and you can't just show up and be like, hey, let's talk about science. There's so many like legal things you have to know. Yeah, permits. And very often I film like that process and then compile it in like a video, because I really enjoy watching these types of videos myself, like little vlogs to escape. And sometimes I just film like little trips I did. So I really love showing people that scientists are just normal everyday people, and I think everybody here does this in their videos, because they give a piece of themselves make a video, you know, talk about,
Yeah.
put time and effort into these videos. But I like to, just show that I'm just a regular woman that enjoys reading. Sometimes I recommend books, you know, there are all these kind of different things I like to share on my channel, which I know that the algorithm doesn't always like if you do a bit of everything and not one specific thing. But yeah, I think people enjoy it. My following has been growing, and sometimes always the same people that answer and ask questions about Berlin or what I'm up to. It's really fun. It's like almost like a little community now where I recognize the same people like commenting and stuff. It's really cute.
That's really nice. I watched your channel trailer, and one of the things that I loved about it was that it was a good mix of travel videos and then your personal, almost like vlog style. And you could tell that the channel was going to be about all of those things. It wasn't just going to be a very traditional kind of travel channel. Let's see, we talked about your channels. The next question that I have for you is like, what is something that you learned about YouTube along the way? That's something that you had to kind of realize or figure out for yourself as you started creating things. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right.
Maybe because I already, I'm already in the flow.
Sounds good.
I think what I noticed is that it's a lot more putting thought into a nice description so people know what they can get from your video, or a title that makes sense, that you can't just upload a video and hope people see it. It's actually, you need a nice thumbnail. That's things I never thought about at first. So it's been a learning curve. So I just thought like, oh yeah, all these like really big YouTubers, they just like film themselves and they put it online. Like that's not that hard. It's actually not like that, and editing actually takes a lot longer. And I learned a lot about music licensing and image licensing, and there are all these small things that add up. But I really enjoy all of that. And I recently took like a copyright law course, and was like, I've been doing things right. I'm glad. It taught me a lot from video editing, which I can now use in my work as well, to promoting myself. Sometimes I'm a bit shy about that, but I've gotten much better.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, you're shy about maybe promoting yourself, but when you have this channel, it almost creates this invitation for people to get to know you a little bit more, especially since you have some of those vlog style videos, and you're talking about more than just paleontology. You're also talking about Berlin, you're talking about your travels. So that's really cool. I totally agree with everything you said. Like there's a lot of work that goes into YouTube videos besides just the filming. There's the editing process. There's all of these kind of written things that you need for each video, the description, the title, you may be adding tags. There's all sorts of ways to make more people be able to see your video by including these things. And so they are important to realize. I know a lot of people just like you don't realize that until after they're like uploading their video and it's asking for all of these things. So it's helpful for anyone who's watching this to be able to recognize that that's something that they might need in advance. So thanks for sharing that. Nichole, what about you? What's something that you realized about YouTube maybe after you started?
Yeah, so a lot of the same things as Franzi. I think for me, two of the top ones were probably how much energy and time goes into script writing.
Ooh.
That like, even still, like, I don't think I have like the best process for it. I think that's something that once I have brain space, when the dissertation's done, want to maybe sit down and evaluate, because like I like definitely like that, and just how much time it takes, and like and also planning out like when you're going to release videos. Like I played around, I think, especially in the beginning, with like all kinds of different release times and release dates, and kind of like that. It was surprising how much of a difference it would make. Like I think I noticed consistently if I put a video out on Friday, because I think about halfway through, when I'd had about half my videos that are currently up now, I'd figured out like, okay, like Thursday seems to be a good day, but there was just a couple weeks where it's like life happens.
You didn't get it done. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I'll just put it out on Friday. It'll be fine. Like I want a video out this week, because I keep telling people they're going to be every other week. And then the views would be so much less on Friday. And at times I was like, I'm not sure if it's the content or the time. And it's like, and I think after like 2 videos that similar things kind of happened, I was like, okay, Friday's not a good time for me. This is not working. So like that was definitely a lot trickier to nail down than I would have expected. And yeah, like making up the script and just like the amount of time that it takes. Like I definitely thought at one point, like, oh, it's so reasonable, put a video out every other week and I'll just work on the script. Like as soon as that one video is uploaded, then I'll start working on the script for the other. And it's like, it is not enough time.
Especially when you're doing so much other stuff and you're in grad school, you're just trying to finish everything. You know, when a video is as detailed and researched and engaging as yours, you know, you have the little pop-ups and, you know, you have other videos where you're, showing how something is, I don't even know how to say this, like an example video almost. So you're doing a lot of editing work in there as well. And that means that there has to be more time spent on the script to plan all of those things out. So when you're doing something like this, where it's like a live interview, maybe the script writing isn't going to take up most of your time. Maybe the planning and coordinating is, but different videos do take a lot of energy and a lot of time in that planning phase, depending on what you're sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Susan, what about you? What's something that you have learned about YouTube since you started?
I mean, definitely a lot of what both Franzi and Nichole is definitely, it's like same experience for sure. And I guess a lot of the other people watching who do academic YouTube are probably thinking the same thing, just the sheer amount of time involved. I won't go over the same things you guys have already said. I guess one thing maybe that hasn't been mentioned is just the amount of time and effort that goes into maintaining the video once it's up and just making sure that there's not too much spam. And I think I didn't really appreciate going into it that there would be spam comments that might be like problematic. And so I'd really need to be on top of it and make sure that I'm getting rid of things, because given we're, a bit of a sensitive topic talking about cancer, we do actually unfortunately get quite a lot of scam artists commenting with like scam cures and like email this address or go to this website where they're, presumably going to steal your money or something. And it's, obviously we've got a vulnerable viewership. So that's something that we need to put in like every single day. I have to go on and just make sure that there's nothing dodgy on there, which means you don't just kind of upload the video and then say goodbye, that's done forever. I don't have to think about it anymore. You kind of still need to keep on top of things after it's up. And then, of course, if I assume, most of you guys, I'm sure, are doing the same of like sharing the videos externally on all the other social media sites. So then you've also got to check all those other ones as well all the time. We're constantly getting things on like Instagram in particular and Facebook, like dodgy comments, or at least if it's DMs, you don't have to worry about it because the public's not going to see it. But quite a lot of just spam that you just need to troll through. So just the kind of the time involved in just manually going through and getting rid of all of that, I start to wonder if, even though we're a very small channel, like, God, I wish I had someone like working for us to do this. I don't know how the big channels deal with it. Like, wow.
Yeah, that's really interesting about what you said, because the actions that you're taking, deleting those comments, making sure that nothing that is misdirecting or misleading is on there, is a way that you're protecting your community. You're protecting your audience against people who are trying essentially to use your channel to take advantage of them. So that work is not something everyone who starts a YouTube channel will really have to do on a daily basis the way that Susan is. But the fact that she has to do that and maybe didn't realize that in advance does mean that, more work has to go into the channel, because if she just, didn't do that portion, if she just left the comments up, some of her audience may be more vulnerable to that, and they may click on that link, and you don't want that to happen. So it's great that Susan's doing the daily management of it, but a good thing to keep in mind if you're starting a channel that might attract that kind of response.
Just to say before you move on, in case that puts anyone off too much, you can just disable the comments. So you don't have to do it the slow manual way like me. You can just say no more discussion. We just like to leave them on because we're hoping that we will occasionally get like constructive discussions in there. So.
Yeah, of course.
You can just switch it off and just say no. It's not happening.
That is so good to know. Now, Erika, you are prolific in how many videos you share. You share a lot of videos. So what is something that you learned when you started your YouTube? Maybe you didn't know it before you started YouTube, but afterwards, what's something that you learned?
Yeah, I would definitely say, kind of to Franzi's point about the algorithm. So when I started, I posted one video a week, and I did do Fridays. But luckily in the not algorithm, but the analytics, you can see when most of your community is on YouTube and then just make your videos live at that time. But I started one video because I was a grad student. But then in the summer, it took me 9 months to get my first 100 subscribers. But then last summer, when things went wrong, I started posting videos of edtech tutorials and about online teaching ideas and high flex ideas. And then I went in 3 months, I gained the other 800 to reach my 1,000 subscriber, amount. So I think like the importance of evergreen content, things that will always work and it can be looked for at any time, but also really timely content. We're like, okay, in this month, in July, a lot of new teachers are going to look for advice about teaching because they're going to start teaching in August. Mm-hmm. So I kind of know my seasons and I plan accordingly. So I really think if whatever it is that you are doing for your channel, if there's any seasonal elements to it or something starts trending really quickly, you really have to get on that and realize that you have to structure your channel. And it's not just this week I'm going to post about this, really having a plan. Like I plan, okay, this is what I'm doing this month. And I post 2 videos a week. So I know 8 videos at a time, what's happening on my channel.
So having a plan in place helps you make sure that the content is both timely or evergreen, so that people are always getting kind of some of the content that would be useful for them, it sounds like. Is that right?
Yeah, and then having that flexibility like available, like when something happens quickly that you need to post and you just move back the video schedules and just have the new video that you record that same day or the day before go live when necessary. But I do think planning ahead is really key for consistency, but also just understanding how to scaffold your content, just like you would scaffold a course that you're teaching.
So planning not just for like the timeliness of videos, but for the learning ability of the people watching them, so that you're adding on new topics based on the old topics that you've created to help them learn more. Very cool. It sounds like you do pretty extensive planning for your videos. What about the rest of you? Do you all plan as much for your videos? I know I don't.
We're not as organized as Erika.
How do you plan your videos, Susan?
So it used to be, we had a master list when we first started of about 15 topics that we put together over the course of a few meetings that we said, this will kind of cover the big questions that cancer patients have about cancer. Mm-hmm. And it took us about 2 years to get through that. We're not uploading like 1-2 videos a week. My God, I don't know how Erika does it. We do like a video every month or 2 kind of thing. And it would take us a long time because we would have 1 or 2. So we used to meet on Tuesday nights after work from 5 till 8. And we would, for a couple of meetings, talk about what we were going to make. And then for a couple of meetings, film it. And then for a couple of meetings, edit it. So, the whole thing is taking like months. And yeah, it would kind of just be exactly what Erika said not to do of, what do we like to do next? I guess we'll just do this topic. So yeah, very occasionally we'll do something timely. Like Haley did make a nice video about COVID last summer and how the PCR testing that is used in diagnosis is a similar type of test that we would use in cancer research day to day in the lab, and kind of explaining how now that the public is learning what PCR means, did you know that that's actually something we always use in cancer research as well.
Very cool.
So very occasionally we'll jump on board something like that, but mostly it's just no rhyme, no reason. So don't do what we do what Erika does.
Just to disclaim, like to me, like my editing is very fast because I just do face-to-face tips or screen sharing. So I do very little editing of my videos. Like my editing per video takes me half an hour or less because it's literally just cut out any errors or like quiet time. And
did you see us all die a little?
I can post twice a week because I don't actually add things on the screen. There's no like shifting transitions. It's like, hey, here are my 5 tips. Or, hey, here's my screen. This is how you use this EdTech tool. So I edit very quickly because I'm not making beautiful videos like Franzi or anything. So that's why I can manage, 2 videos a week. And during the semester, I go down to 1 just because of teaching.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think that also the fact that changes for you over time based on, what responsibilities you have in other areas of your life makes a lot of sense. I think that when people start YouTube, they think, well, I always have to be consistent. I have to do like 2 or 3 videos a week. I have to do all of these things that, if I go and Google how to start a YouTube channel, it's going to tell me to do. But that's not realistic, especially for many academics, especially if you have a much more extensive editing process process than what Erika's doing, which makes her editing process makes it fast. My editing process makes it fast. But when you have a lot more information to share that requires maybe sharing a screenshot and sharing more information and linking to other things, that's going to take longer. And so make that part of your planning process. Make that something that you're scheduling in for yourself. That way, when you create a schedule that's going to work for you, it's actually going to make sense long term. Now, Nichole, I noticed that you maybe don't have quite as many videos. So what is your planning process? Do you do videos because you're interested in the topic? Do you do them for a specific reason? What's your planning process for videos?
Yeah, so kind of similar to Susan, like when I first kind of got the little kick that I needed to get started, kind of laid out some like cool like stories, if you want to call them that, like biology stories I'd heard in like especially my lower division courses.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of intro to bio stuff, so it's like a little bit more like accessible, more likely to be things people have heard about, or just requires a lot less unpacking than the really advanced courses that I've gotten through. And so I kind of laid out those stories. It's like, okay, which things were really cool that I think have either I can think of a cool like pop culture reference to tie in, or just like have my cat show up in the video like periodically. So that was kind of a lot of my process. And there were a couple of times where different things happened where I was like, okay, I need to make a video about this. So that first COVID video, that was all thanks to CNN putting out a tweet that made academic, or especially science Twitter, very upset. It took me a while to get it out, but I was like, I can't like pass this opportunity. Like, this is just a little funny, but also like I'm dying inside. And
so the timeliness of it like prompted you to create that video in that case.
Yeah, so a lot of times there are things that just kind of like have prompted me to make a video, or I kind of accidentally myself into releasing a timely video. So I think I have one on Rosalind Franklin that I didn't even fully realize when her birthday was, and I happened to put the video out like the week after. I was like, oh, well, that works. So
good timing.
Yeah, so I think there are definitely times when I could have had a little bit more like foresight, but it all kind of worked out. Like, and especially given it was like the first like year of the channel, I think there was a big learning curve in figuring out timeliness of video releases, and I definitely learned a lot from that. So definitely for anyone starting to make videos, that's like, if you don't get the timing right, especially in that first year, like it'll be fine. You'll recover and you kind of learn from that. But it is something that's sometimes a little tricky to even like kind of plan out and have like the foresight to keep these things in mind. Because sometimes there's just a story you're excited to tell, and then you realize later, it's like, oh, I maybe should have saved this for some other week or some other month.
Now, Franzi, your process is probably a little bit different because you film pretty regularly in life. So how do you plan your videos?
Sometimes I look at my calendar and I think, oh, what I have going on in that week, that's interesting. So if I have, like oftentimes I have events that have a fixed time, like once a year. So that's obviously like very little work, but it's now leading up to it. So I film before, but I have like a schedule. Well, no, okay, once a month we'll have a group meeting, we'll discuss it, maybe I film a little. At the museum, I have an event every Sunday, so every first Sunday of the month. And then really I just do it whenever I feel like it. I think it depends on if there are any paleo news. Sometimes I do that because I also get more interview requests when there's like a new Jurassic World coming out or something like that. So it's similar where if like a new paper is coming out and it has something to do with my research. I made a video before, but sometimes it can be very unpredictable, just as science often is, because you don't always get, you know, the inside scoop until it's published.
Right.
But really for me, there isn't very often a sense of urgency. It's more enjoying the process and just doing it when I feel like it, because it's still something that I see as a hobby and as something that I do for myself, even though I know other people are watching it. Like I said, sometimes I just sit back and like watch my own video thinking like, oh, that was a great event, or, you know, I'm just reminiscent. And so really, yeah, I do it whenever I feel like it, even though I have a quite large output also, like right now, like once a week I post.
That's great.
But I also take quite a lot of time editing because I focus a lot on the aesthetics and the music transition. Like if there's a transition, it has to go with the beat of the music, you know. Well, there's the cat. Yeah, you know, zoom in a lot on the music beat and stuff, and then edit for the, you know, when there's a new cut in the video or something. So that kind of stuff takes time, or, you know, music can change the whole vibe of the video. Right. So if I wanted to be more exciting, like, oh, I filmed behind the scenes of Soapbox science event, it's supposed to be like exciting. So I have to find good music, but then I found a song I liked, and then I found out that it was a little bit R-rated, so I had to change it. It wasn't too bad. It was nothing like horrible, but I think I changed my mind and was like, it's not like offensive or anything. But there was kind of like a little like background rap session, and I listened. I was like, hold up, no, better not, better not. So I'll like switch things around and see how it changes the video, how I feel about the video. So it's the kind of stuff that takes quite a long time. So my editing takes me quite a long time. Yeah.
But it sounds more like you enjoy the editing process.
Yeah. It's like I love trying out new things, and I'm like, oh, what if I do this in slow-mo? Is that gonna be interesting? And then when I try something new and people comment on how nice it looked, I'm like, oh yes. I love that. And I get comments every day. The most comments I get, that people said, oh, that video was like really cozy, like, or really like made them feel good, or, you know.
And it's nice because it's not only your filming choices that are making that, but your editing choices that are creating those feelings or emotions. It's very cool.
Yeah, makes me feel like it was worth it to put that much time into it.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually one of the things that surprised me the most, is like when I created my first couple of videos, I wasn't sure if the time that I put into it was going to feel worth it. And it wasn't until I got my first comments or replies or like a DM that's like, oh, this is really helpful, that I started being like, oh, people are like not only watching this, but they're getting something out of it. That makes a huge difference for me, feeling like I want to put the energy into it. So thank you all for sharing that about, you know, something that you've learned along the way. My next question is more about a problem that you've run into. Like, what's an issue that came up that caused problems for you? I know, Susan, for you, getting the spam comments was an issue. Was there anything else that has been problematic?
Not really. We do get negative comments sometimes, but I kind of enjoy them and I leave them up because it's kind of funny. No, but they're not trying to, you know, sell things to cancer patients or anything. They're just saying that we're terrible at our jobs, or, you know, we're awful communicators and get off YouTube and whatever. And I think that's kind of funny. So I just leave that up.
Yeah, I like your reaction to it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not like, you know, it's a hobby. So you know, it's not like that's part of our jobs that we're somehow failing at it. I think, you know, it's something we do for fun, and most people seem to enjoy it. And the people who don't, it's like, well, just stop watching then. I mean, I don't know why. So I enjoy, like our most popular video has a lot of like hate comments on it. And it's kind of funny. So
leave it up and you're like, well, you're welcome to your opinion.
No, in general, I think it's a really nice place, actually. Particularly now, I got to say, you know, plugging the community now that is building up on Twitter, it's so supportive. And the vast majority of people are really, really nice and really encouraging to each other. And there's so many people out there like the four of us who have very similar channels, kind of similar goals, doing it for similar reasons. And it's just a really nice community now, I think.
I think that's great. You know, one of the reasons why I wanted to ask this question is because I want to normalize that we all run into issues. We all run into technical glitches or problems that we didn't expect. And having a community like academic YouTubers where you can, you know, maybe ask a question or, you know, share your video, or like just make sure that someone else is on the other end of your question, like that can make a huge difference. So Erika, what is a problem that you've run into while creating videos?
So I think it's funny because negative comments can hit me sometimes because I get so few comments. Like I'm definitely not a channel where it's like, let's discuss teaching to a great extent, which is fine for me. But that means that whenever I get a negative comment, I'm like, no.
You feel it more. Yeah.
Yeah. Because but then interesting enough, like recently, the past couple of months, my comments have just like disappeared. So I'll be notified that I have a comment, but I can't actually see it on my video. So I can't reply to it. So I got a question. I'm like, I swear I have an answer, but I literally I hit reply and there's no comment that appears, which I guess is just like a YouTube glitch that seems to be getting better. I have received 2 comments this week, so I'm hoping that that's over with. But I think other than the comment element, there's been a few times where I edited a video and I left in a mistake accidentally. And I'm like, you know what? It's live. It exists on YouTube and it's not a big deal. Like you have to kind of let these things go, kind of, as Susan's point, it's not my job to curate YouTube videos. I'm not going to be fired. So, if something happens and you realize you have a weirdly, blank space or you say the same thing twice in a row, don't delete the video and start from scratch. It's not going to be, the end of the world to have small issues, especially early on if you're just starting out.
I think that is a great tip. It's okay if there are mistakes in your video. Not only will people maybe not notice, but they might pay attention more when there's a mistake. So if people are paying more attention to you, that can be a good thing anyways. Now, one of the things that I ran into when I first started doing live videos that I didn't know how much of a lag there was between Zoom and between YouTube. And in YouTube, you can set an additional lag so that there's more time if you make a mistake or you need to prepare or something. And I had set like a 20 or 30-second lag on there. And so the first time that I went live, I was with Dr. Erika Romero. We were talking about presentations. And we were just like sitting on the camera like this for like a full minute while we were live, just being like, are we on yet? Is this working? And everyone in the chat was so nice. They were like, oh, it's working. I can see you, even though there was a lag and we couldn't even tell that like people could see us. It was totally fine that there was such like a technical glitch at the beginning. The audience was totally fine with the mistake. They stayed. There were even more people who joined afterwards. And so I feel like mistakes can happen and that's okay. Nichole, what about you? Have you run into a problem or an issue about YouTube?
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking very specifically, oh gosh, was it the second or third video I filmed? I can't remember which one now, was the second or third, because we for a while, because my fiance helps me. Oh no, don't walk on the keyboard, Dylan, the call. So, she's like, no. But he was like helping me film stuff, like super great and supportive. And we were doing, again, it was either the second or third video, I don't remember which. And so we were still trying to figure out like the framings. We're doing this on like an iPhone, on like a ring light I bought on Amazon. It's like it like kind of weirdly blocks the view on your phone. And he didn't realize that I was slightly out of frame. And so it's like you like miss, like it's like only like my eyebrows down. And we realized it's like after we filmed it, we're like, that was like half the day.
No, yeah.
Now, like we can't let it stay with just like eyebrows down. Like this looks so weird.
For sure.
So I think definitely as far as filming, that was like one of the biggest like technical glitches. And ever since, it's been like this kind of like paranoid, like, okay, take one step back. Okay, one step forward, and just like really getting it perfect. So we're just like, never again. That was terrible.
Right, because you lost like half a day with that one issue. And so now you take an extra minute or two to make sure that it's set up right the first time. I've definitely run into that problem before too. Although for me, it was my mic. I didn't have my mic properly set up. And so I was filming with a separate camera to then attach them together later. And the mic wasn't on. So I just had really bad audio from like the built-in camera mic. And it was a full day of shooting. It was like 4 videos and we had to redo all of them. So that happened. After that, I, double checked things and that has never happened again. So it's like, okay, if you make a big mistake, if you figure out a solution to kind of check that, or even a checklist where you're like going through and making sure that you've done all the steps that you want to, that can be really helpful. So Franzi, what about you? Have you run into a problem with filming or a problem with an editing process maybe?
Not so much the technical side. I mean, every now and then my laptop's not the newest, so it'll really sound like a spaceship is supposed to, almost like lifting off the ground. So it gets really, it's working hard. I guess if you have footage that's like 4 gigabytes or whatever, because I film a lot and then I edit down, right? So every now and then it's like, oof. I reached a point once where my my computer was so full, the memory was so full, it wouldn't even let me delete things. It was like I had to then on my phone like Google how I delete something from like, I don't know exactly what it's called, but when you delete something, obviously it's not really deleted. It goes like in a different place, right? On the hard drive. It's not like gone. So I had to find out how to delete stuff with like a key combination, like, and then it would work. But it was so full. I had like 20 megabytes left on it or something, and the computer was like, no, absolutely not. So I had to find that out. And then really it's just for me because I'm quite open, so I share lots of stuff on social media anyway. But obviously when I film my private life or what I'm up to, I'm not going to film the street that I live in when I film myself outside, maybe talking about, hey, I'm on the way to Soapbox Science now or something. I'll walk away and then film somewhere, I don't know, at the tram stop a while away or something, because I just don't need that worry in my life. Like I want people know I do lots of SciComm in Berlin, so lots of people know who I am, and it's already that people when I worked at the museum found out when I go to the museum and stuff, and were like, hey, are you there again today? And I'm like, excuse me.
That's a little
no.
It's a little creepy because it's like, even though it's because they're interested in you and your science and, you know, more of your research, like that's really cool, but it's also maybe uncomfortable. And if you can just have the peace of mind to know that you're not filming on your home street and you're not filming right in front of your apartment, that makes a huge difference. I know that I help people manage their online presence, and so I teach people how to like share their CV on their personal website. And I always tell people, make sure that you don't have your home address, and maybe not even like your school department address on your public CV. Don't include the contact information from people who are, you know, your recommenders on your CV. Like, you don't want people just calling them randomly because they downloaded your CV from your website. These are the kinds of things that like we don't always think about, but to protect ourselves, it can make a pretty big difference. So thanks for sharing that, Franzi, for sure. All right. So we talked about problems that we've all run into on YouTube. Some of it's technical, some of it's in the editing process, and some of it is more personal and about how we protect ourselves either from negative comments or from people in real life. And so these are all important things to think about when you're starting your own channel, because we all run into problems. We're going to run into problems that we maybe expect that there might be the potential for that. And we also run into problems where we had no idea that could be an issue. And all of a sudden you can't delete anything on your computer like Franzi. So just knowing that there's a community like academic YouTubers where you can reach out, there's other people who may have gone through the same problems. There's other people who may have experienced these things and maybe found a solution. That's so great. Now, can you tell me a little bit more about the academic YouTubers community on Twitter?
So one thing is we do have themed days. So since there's 4 of us, we take, I think, a weekday each, and then Tuesday is just like a free for all. But you do have, you know, some Monday method where you have the YouTube tip, but then you also have, you know, Tuber Thursday where, you know, we share videos. So there's definitely different types of help you can get on our account. And, you know, we have a list of all the academic YouTubers who we found that we add to the list for everybody else to be able to easily access.
Very cool.
And just promoting, I suppose, as well, so that we try and catch anytime someone posts a video and uses either tags our account or uses the hashtag academic YouTube. We try and always retweet that. We don't have a bot, we're doing it ourselves. So apologies if anyone's watching going, you didn't retweet my video. Do it again. We will get to it. We're just human beings, sorry. But for the most part, yeah, we try to.
That's really good to know. So when you're sharing your video that you've put on YouTube, be sure to tag academic YouTubers using, you know, their @tag or using the hashtag. So that is a great tip. Anything else that you'd like to share about the academic YouTubers community?
I guess just like make sure if you have a channel, like definitely like follow us on Twitter. We're mostly like, that's basically where the account is. So like, please
Yeah.
follow us. Like, that's how we're going to find you. Like, I think we've like followed a few people that like we know from just like our own like Twitter spheres, I guess, if you want to call it. But yeah, like if you have an account, like please follow us. We'll definitely follow you back if you have a channel and it's like easy to find, because I think there have been a couple people who followed us that maybe do have channels, but it's like a little cumbersome to find. Like it's not linked in their Twitter anywhere, and so we have to like dig a little bit. So if you make it obvious, then it's like even easier for us, because yeah, like Susan said, like there's no bots involved. It's for human beings. Like thankfully we're all spread across like so many different time zones that I think that also helps us catch things a lot more than if we were all like in like Pacific time zone, or we were all like in London or something, that, you know, we're all awake at the same time. But since it's kind of all spread across, like I think that definitely helps us catch content and have it being spread at like so many different times. So people across so many different time zones are more likely to see it.
I think that's great. And it's also true of people on YouTube. Like if you're sharing a YouTube video, it's not just people in your home country or your home state that are going to see it. You have the potential to reach people around the world. And that's especially true if you use the academic YouTubers hashtag or tag their account, because more people will see it who are interested in what other academic YouTubers are doing. So sharing your content, sharing the stuff that you're putting all that time and energy into creating, by including it in your social media profile, by including it on your website or on your LinkedIn, is a great practice. It really will help more people find it, which is great because you're putting time and energy into making it. And we all want to have that kind of community and people who are really engaged with our videos, right? So be sure to share it. And that's kind of my last question for you all. What's something that you do to share your videos to make sure that people are watching?
Guess we kind of all, you know, post on Twitter, different places. I'm not sure if I have any brilliant tips and tricks on that. I probably have one of the smaller channels here, so you should listen to maybe, you know, any of the other three.
Well, you know, the size of the channel doesn't make as much difference as the audience. And when you have an audience that's really specific, like yours, Susan, it's okay if there's not like thousands of followers yet. Like if the people who are watching care about what you're sharing, that's what matters. Yeah.
It's also useful to share in real life, actually, to be honest, as well. Like we find it quite helpful to, I guess, Nichole mentioned kind of outreach events where you maybe have set up like a particular demonstration of something. And we've done that kind of thing in the past. And it's really helpful nowadays that we have the channel, that when we're at an event, we can just have videos running in the background at our stall.
Oh, that's
or
so cool.
or actually like air them. Like we went to a patient support group for prostate cancer patients, and we actually just aired a few of the videos and did like a little survey of what they thought and what they wanted to see more of, and they had great questions. So sharing in real life is actually, we find it really really fun. I actually enjoy that much more than just kind of
So
posting
cool
to Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, that's like an even better tip, because that's really something people might not think about. I know when I share my videos with family and friends, they really like it, even if it's not a topic that they're particularly interested in, like how academics can manage their online presence. They'll still watch it and they'll still be curious about it. And so I think also not limiting yourself to just sharing on social media can be helpful too. Franzi, how do you share your videos?
I think it depends. I share them a lot with the community on Twitter, but I have, like you said, also extended family in Canada and friends in all over. And so for them, I have a very small group of friends on Facebook that I share to, and lots of my traffic actually comes from there because they want to see what I'm up to.
I love that.
It really depends. I feel like sometimes videos get picked up and I don't know how or where. And then I saw that someone posted it on like a Reddit and it was actually funny. It was like a travel video from when I went to Poland, to one of like a city that's not so well known. So there isn't a lot of stuff on YouTube. Like when I tried to look up where to go and stuff, there was almost nothing. And now it has like 10,000 views. I'm like, I just filmed myself in Poland. What's happening? But I sometimes try to give advice on, hey, if you take this tram, it's this is how many zlotys, you know, that's because they don't use euros. This is how you can pay for it, and this is how much it is. Like I try to give some tips. So apparently sometimes people share that elsewhere, and I don't always know where. But from what I do, it's usually on these two platforms. Sometimes I embed it on a website if it's more like a sciencey video. then I put stuff on my website. Not so much if it's just a video about traveling, then, because it's more a professional website. But if it's something that adds value or more context to the blog post I wrote or something, I'll also put it there, so people can do like a further watching if they enjoyed it. Yeah, so I try to spread it a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And it sounds like the friends who you share it with do drive quite a bit of traffic there, because they really want to see what you're doing and they want to see what you're up to. So I love that. Nichole, what about you? How do you share your videos with more people?
Yeah, so kind of like everyone here, definitely put them on Twitter. I have like a very small like Instagram account for the YouTube channel that I post them there. Instagram, I feel like can be a little bit more tricky, just because like you have to redo the thumbnail, get the dimensions just right, which I didn't learn until like 4 posts in. I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a pain. But then my really big one is kind of like Franzi as well, Facebook. So I have, I think, a fair amount of like old like family friends or like really good friends from like growing up that have really engaged. In fact, I know one of my friends, she was my first first fan question. Like, so it was like the most recent video I've uploaded. Her mom, I love her mom so much. She would like come in and tell her, it's like, oh, Nichole put up a new video. She's like, yeah, mom, I know. Like, I just got the notification too. So Facebook's been a really big one for me, especially with being able to connect with like family and friends that like just with doing PhD, like further away from home, like I don't get to see as often. So it's like really cool still seeing them engage with it and like thinking that what I'm doing is cool. Like that's
Yeah.
has been kind of a cool like little ego confidence boost.
Well, it's really cute because, you know, the excitement that they were expressing with you and that they told you about, that's like the excitement that other people get from seeing your videos, right? You just don't see it and they're not telling you about it because they don't know you. So it's really nice that you have friends and family who are like, hey, we love it. We're waiting. As soon as we get the notification, like we get that excitement to see your video. So thanks for sharing that. Erika, what about you? You have a pretty big audience on YouTube for like a teacher channel. So how do you get more people, not just your subscribers, to like watch your videos?
Yeah, so I post across social media too. So Twitter, Instagram. Though Instagram, rather than doing a post, I'll just do a story so I can use the regular thumbnail. I don't have to edit it down to a post.
Smart.
LinkedIn, right? So, you know, all those. But for me, so since I have my blog, I do have a newsletter, an email newsletter that goes out every month at the end of the month. And so part of that newsletter includes, hey, here are the videos that I posted this month in case you're interested. And then I link to my channel. So I do have that element as well. And then since my channel is about teaching, like if there's some kind of PD event at my university and I'm like, oh, I want to use Kahoot, I'll just like in the chat say, hey, by the way, I have a Kahoot tutorial. Here's a link, right? So there are times where just like when I'm talking to fellow educators, especially with Zoom meetings, it's easy to just send a link when there's relevant content.
That's
so
great.
That's my like one-on-one, even though it is still digital, with fellow educators that I just happen to meet in real life, though it's via Zoom.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, since you will share links like during a meeting, do you have like a file or like a Word doc or something that has like your most shared links or something?
I have a Google spreadsheet with every single video, the title and the link, because in my video descriptions, I have like additional resources and I put relevant videos in each description of my videos. And so I just use that spreadsheet to like control find the title and then just copy and paste straight those 2 cells into my YouTube description for any video that I have. So yeah, it's easy to access because I have it all in one spreadsheet.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. I have loved talking to you all about YouTube, about getting started and why you created your channels. You had a lot of great tips to share with people, especially if they're thinking about starting a YouTube channel or maybe even have their first video recorded and haven't posted it like Susan. So now my last thing is, you know, I would love to hear from you if there's anything else that you'd like to share, if there's anything else you'd like to share about your own channel or about academic YouTubers, you know, do take this opportunity.
I think something I realized is that if you have an interest and you want to make videos about a certain topic because you're passionate about it, or you know that this is something that you're good at, there is always going to be somebody out there who's interested and wants to watch it. And for me, for example, sometimes I get a bit of anxiety and I like to know where stuff is when I go to a new country, for example. Sometimes I watch videos, I'm like, oh, now I know where to go, or now I know where all the
Right.
cool stuff is. So it eases my anxiety, for example. Even though I love travel, sometimes I'm like, I need to be prepared. So I
Mm.
watch lots of that stuff. And if that's why I make these videos as well, because I really enjoy it. So it's really something that I like a lot. And I think if you have a passion for something and you want to make a video about it, pretty sure someone else is going to be out there who wants to watch it. So
Thank you.
Yeah, if you just got started on YouTube as well, a couple weeks ago, I posted a video that's literally like how to set up your YouTube channel to like the best, way of doing it. Because it's summer, I figured let's take a break from teaching tips and talk about like things teachers might do over the summer, including starting a YouTube channel. So it literally just tells you like, make a cover image, go to these settings, add this information. So if you're new, I recommend that video just to kind of make sure that you kind of ticked off those boxes of like some basics for making it really, to the best you can early on.
Oh, that's great. Erika, after this live stream, can you drop the link to that in the comments?
She already has it copied from the little spreadsheet, right?
Okay.
She's like,
yeah, you'll get a quick sense. Yes, I will do that. Yeah.
Actually, for all of you, if you could share maybe your favorite video or something that you'd like to share with this audience, just drop it in the comment after this, because I have loved talking to you and I want people to explore your videos and your channels as well. Now, Academic YouTubers is on Twitter. You can connect with them, you can follow them, you can, share your videos and use their hashtag. I really want to encourage you to do that because I'm really glad I found this community. They definitely share videos when I use the hashtag. So I encourage you to do the same. Is there anything else you'd like to share as we wrap up? Maybe Susan or Nichole?
I guess.
Sorry.
You first, Nichole, go for it.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like there's a surprising amount of like free resources out there. So for editing, from anything from editing your videos to using Canva for kind of making thumbnails or the cover banner and stuff like there's a lot of surprisingly free resources out there. So definitely like don't let cost freak you out. Like YouTube even will do free free subtitles. I know they're not the most accurate, but given that other subtitle software can get pretty expensive, so YouTube even in that is pretty accommodating. So if you're worried about the cost, it's like at least for starting out, you can't, like I use my iPhone, like you don't have to do the fanciest, biggest thing. Like it can really be a low cost initial thing. And then if it takes off, fantastic. And if not, like we've all kind of do this as a hobby, and it's like, well, you don't have to invest a ton of money into it for it to be good quality. It can be good quality and just using what you have around you, which is really awesome, I think.
Yeah, I think that's awesome too. All right, Susan, your turn.
No, I was just going to say, don't forget to shout about what you're doing in your day job, because although it's a hobby for most of us, and I think we've actually done some polls on Twitter to ask kind of the wider community, do you do your YouTube stuff during the day, or do you consider it a hobby? And I think most of us do consider it a hobby and an extra thing that we do nights and weekends. But don't forget to still include it when you're going for promotion or going for a new job or applying for a grant. I've always found, it's a little cherry on top at the very end of the application. It's not going to replace having, papers or qualifications, but, it's a nice little sweetener at the end. And if you've got like good metrics on specifically, how many people are engaging or commenting or something that kind of helps to show off what you've been doing. I've definitely found that even though our channel is small, it's been something that has been commented on positively in grants that I've applied for, or even, when I went for my job. Like it seems to be a thing that people like to see it within the academic community. It's part of your engagement with the wider world. As academics, we, to have an impact, we need to be talking outside the academic bubble as well. And I think, if you're doing this and it's a hobby, make sure you do shout about it, because it's appreciated, I think, usually.
Well, thank you all for joining me. I am so glad that we found a time for this because, YouTube is something that it is hard to coordinate when we have all of these different time zones and schedules to make sure that we're having people in, it's hard to coordinate something like this where it's live. but it's
when did
well
we
worth
start
it.
coordinating this? How many
Oh,
months
gosh.
have we?
It's been like it's at least 3 months. I know we almost had a time, and then there's construction noise, and then we yeah. So it's been like a little bit of a struggle, but it's so worth it because more people are going to see this. People are going to hopefully be motivated to start their YouTube channels. And if you have questions, you can check out Erika's video in the comments to this video to learn more about how to start your own YouTube channel. And I just think that video can be so engaging. It can be such a great way to encourage more people to connect with you, to learn more about the topic that you're sharing. So thank you all for joining me. And everyone who's watching, give this video a thumbs up, like it, and then go down to the comments below to check out some of the videos that these awesome women are sharing on YouTube. All right. I am ending the stream now.